Wake up early, Mr. Retiree, and tune into my.
We're gonna call the meeting to order. Hello, everybody. Conservation Commission meeting for July 9th. And because it's a hybrid meeting, we have certain protocols basically to not talk over one another, raise hands if possible. Both hands. And speak in turn, and when you are speaking, please announce your name so that the recording or any guests that might be tuning in should know who is speaking. So with that, we have a new member, Brandon Pete.
Yeah.
You prefer being called by your middle name too, or
No.
no, Brandon?
Yeah.
Hi, Brandon, thanks. Welcome. P-E-A-T-E. Yeah, welcome, thanks, we appreciate you participating. So before we do take the, what,
I was
let's do
just,
the roll call first?
well, I was just gonna say, there's
just wanna
another
go
new
back to-
alternate as well. That
Right,
we
but I
don't
saw
have
the
yet,
email, but he's
Yeah.
not at the,
Right, I
at the
just-
next meeting.
should be, I just wanted to let you know that.
That's
that-
Jason, yes, I saw the email.
So with both alternates, you'll then have a full commission, which I don't know that I've seen since I started helping you guys, so that's.
Yeah, I just said the guy, I don't remember that for a long time, so. You want,
Yeah, I'll do the roll if you like.
do the roll and then we'll do a short introduction. I'll start with Brandon,
Michael Di Lorenzo,
present.
Thomas Heisler,
Present.
Guy Hoffman,
Present.
Carl Lewis,
Present.
Karen Pagliaro,
Present.
Mary Catherine LaRose. Present. Robert Ramsey,
Present.
Jason Pelletier asked to be excused. He's the new alternate. And Brandon Pete.
Present.
Alternate as well. So you have a full
Yeah.
quorum without the alternates.
So, Brandon, again, I'm Michael Di Lorenzo, I'm the chairperson. Been involved for a long time. I'm afraid to go back and guess, but Carl always brings it up. This is Guy Hoffman, who's vice chairperson. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was
Say
just
something?
gonna say, been here, 1990.
6, I think, for me.
Michael and I.
Yes, we are
Keeping it
dinosaurs.
real.
That's true. Thank you. Well, we go
I'm
back.
Mary Catherine LaRose. I haven't been on that long. I don't know. I was an alternate first and then got on the commission a couple, I don't know, I lose track of time,
So do
couple
I.
of years, probably 2-3 years, something like that, so.
I've been on for a while, any guess? Probably about 2012, I think.
And Tom is also a member of the Berlin Land Trust, so he kind of bridges the two organizations and hopefully keeps that filled in and keeps us filled in.
I've known Brandon for quite a while.
Okay.
Carl Lewis, I've been on the Conservation Commission since 1995. Oh, 2000. Not 1995. I don't predate this guy. I couldn't possibly, that's before I was.
Yeah, Ramsey, I haven't been on as long as these guys, but it just feels that way.
But I haven't, I was trying to think, I've been on for a while.
I've been on for a while,
Yeah, Selena was the mayor,
Oh,
that's
that's a
wow.
long time.
so yeah, because he was the one that asked me if I would be interested. But I can't remember when that was.
Early 2000.
Yeah.
Only because I moved to town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
years.
So what did you say, 2004?
2005, so
2005, so I must have done that after that.
a little bit after,
Yeah,
not too long. So.
we were all young at one time.
You were the-
And
I'm Robin Evans. I'm the recording secretary.
Robin also works down the hall at social services during the day, and she gracefully volunteered, well, it's not volunteer, but
I did.
And you want
help us out.
to go to
Karen?
Hey there, I'm Karen Pagliaro. I've been on the board, I don't know if it's like 10 years, but it's been a while too for me, but not as much as Rob, and certainly not Guy or Tom or Carl or Michael.
And you met
Thanks,
me,
Karen.
I'm Maureen, the town planner and the liaison to the commission. For the town.
That's a good thing. It seems like it's been a long.
I was thinking the same thing. Maureen,
So every,
Maureen keeps us straight and narrow with rules and statutes and regulations and brings us back to order sometimes when we get out of order, so.
The tie-in with the planning and zoning.
yeah, planning and zoning, well, actually Brandon, is in zoning in Newtown.
Yeah, it's called the land use agency is what it's
Yeah,
classified.
in land use in Newtown, so he's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
familiar with being liaisons to different boards and commissions. And coordination, it all takes coordination, so, and each person here brings their own unique specialty.
Yeah.
To the commission, which is really enlightening. I've learned a lot.
Each town's a little different structurally, so we're advisory. We don't really have any, we don't have any regulatory authority, so we advise. And when there's plans, which I don't think there are any, but we comment on them and they become part of the planning commission meeting minutes or comment section, and all the departments comment on proposed developments and projects, that kind of thing. So we're grateful and happy to have that ability to provide feedback. Thank you if we don't always say that. Thanks, Marty.
Yep.
Thanks. So we did not have a meeting last month, very light, so we do have the minutes from May meeting. And we need that procedure.
They're on the table if anyone needs a copy.
So you have to have a motion before we discuss it, right?
Yeah.
Motion to accept the minutes for May 14th, 2024.
Thank you, Rob.
I could just
Second.
comment, my name ends in an E, not an A, Robin.
Can you
It's
give
not
me a
LaRosa,
copy of the
it's
minutes?
LaRose.
Sorry, I missed that.
It does say LaRose on
Oh,
the
I'm
name.
looking at this one and where it said present, members present, so just.
Oh,
No, it came back.
wait, am I reading the same one?
Just looking at the
Yeah.
agenda.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
okay.
but it had members present from last month, so I just thought I'd say.
Oh, right, that's right.
Oh.
On the
Yeah,
agenda,
right,
on the,
right, okay,
yeah,
yeah,
so,
the minutes.
but the minute was correct, okay.
So- Did we get a second?
Yeah, me.
Karen,
Okay, Karen.
any other, no other
So
comments?
I was not here, but I just like to comment that because I
Sure.
was not here, under approval of minutes, the third paragraph can't be right. They decided. Second.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yes, Pete.
I don't think I brought my notes from last month. Oh, yes, I did. Here it is. Nope. I didn't bring my notes from last month. I'm sorry, but we will find out who seconded it by looking at the,
So there was
YouTube.
There was a motion to postpone the approval of April 9th minutes, and then there was a motion to approve the April 9th. minutes, And there was another motion to approve, but that might have been when Tom Heisler got here.
I think that needs to actually just be deleted. So Karen seconded them. And with Commissioner Heisler arriving to the meeting, they could then be approved. And so that actually just needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we didn't have we only had 3 people that were at the meeting. Now I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, is there aren't any other corrections or modifications? All in favor of approving as amended or corrected, I should say, or amended maybe? State,
Aye.
I,
thank you, so moved. Good. So it looks like we're pretty light for tonight.
Michael, can I just mention something?
Sure.
Really quick, this is not out of order, but I thought it was very helpful that during my first meeting when I was an alternate, you explained to me that while an alternate
An alternate
cannot
continue.
vote, that you are welcome to take part. Yeah, I assume that you are welcome to take part in every conversation. That was very helpful.
Thank you, Carl. You're right. I'm a little remiss here. So, yes, so as an alternate, technically, the only voting authority you have is when you're filling in to complete the quorum. And for us, a quorum is 4. So if there were 3 people plus yourself, you'd be a full voting member for that particular. Alright. But beyond that, we show no distinctions. You know, everybody participates. So, just so you, understand, that's what involved in the position. Thanks.
I think in the regulatory commissions, if you're an alternate. And you're not seated, you're essentially like, the audience.
It's like an understudy or something. But
Yeah.
So I found that very helpful and
Yeah.
it came back.
Yeah.
Thank
But
you.
you're, because we're
We're
advisory.
Actually, even in the regulatory meetings, the alternate can ask questions, participate in because if by the time a vote is taken, someone has had to recuse themselves or ends up leaving or is during the period of testimony, perhaps somebody realizes that
Okay.
they're not going to participate in the vote, then the alternate has to have had the opportunity to ask their questions as well. So, or participate in their thoughts and whatnot. So what I've always understood or have understood in the last couple of years is we've gone over it, that the alternates can participate as long as it's not during the deliberation portion.
Right, and when the planning commission or wetlands is discussing a project, they might stretch over 3 different meetings and.
Yeah, it could be
That's why-
multiple even meetings but even sometimes there's meetings where someone has to leave early.
Yep.
Has to leave before something gets finished.
Okay.
Or again, may discover that they need to recuse themselves during the testimony.
But participate away, please. We love it. So, so Maureen, the only thing I had, well, we could do the use of town lands, but so, did you email this? Was this left over from last month?
Yes, so I put that back on because
did.
we didn't, actually, I don't believe that it was finalized as far
Alright, so-
as what concerns were, right? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so
Um,
before we get there though,
okay.
the garden is first, which is probably nothing to.
So I have no update for the garden. It seems to be going smoothly and well. I understand some of the gardeners have things that are starting to get ready to be ripe, but aren't ready to be pulled yet. That's the,
for,
They,
Pantry.
social services. Yeah, that's what I heard about, but it sounds like, things are going smoothly. We did have a gardener with, an extra plot who then volunteered to give it off to someone who was waiting. So
is
that
the person
happened.
Who missed the,
no, that person decided not to
oh, so.
have they were contacted first and
Okay.
then somebody else came in as well. So we're about even for gardeners right now. So that's, a good place to be. Not too much land, not too little.
Put all the plots, so that was the last plot.
That was the last plot.
So there's a community garden on Orchard Road. I don't know if you ever drove by it, but.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Have any of the gardeners mentioned issues with there seem to be an awful lot of beetles this year, supposedly, that I'm seeing on gardening sites or whatever. And I wondered, are there any prohibitions against using insecticides there? Is it supposed to be organic?
Yes, I believe so. It's supposed to be, the garden rules are very specific
Okay.
as to what's allowed and what's not allowed. I'm not overly familiar. I'm not much of a gardener. I was at one time. Now
it's not permitted.
I'm not, but I believe it has to be, organic. I think I did see, so I get copied, there's an email that's, Hatchery Burke Garden, something. So Carol actually is the one that responds most often to it. She also, yeah, they have a group email. I'm usually copied. Sometimes people deal directly with her, but there seems to me that I observed a thread that talked about some of the bugs and watching for them and whatnot. And they were just handling it. They're also planting the deterrent plants around the edges and doing that, because there was some discussion that some of those got pulled by someone and, you know, that, no, don't pull these or these, and they were trying to be very, and Carol is really good at communicating that, as well as, I think, instructing the new gardeners or people that aren't maybe there at the same time as to what's going on in the garden, so that they're working, it sounds like they're working really well together, which is, I think the last 2 years have been the most smooth years that our office has had with regard to calls coming in. We're not getting them the way, I shouldn't say it out loud. I'm like, that was.
Knock on wood.
Hours also, like, can they go after dark? to their
I don't
garden?
believe so. I don't believe so. I believe
That's when
it's,
You pick off all these beetles supposedly.
oh,
Well, I think.
I bet
all
if somebody,
town Parks and recreation areas are
Are all
closed at sunset.
Sunset, right? Yeah, yeah.
so subject to enforcement by the powers that be to do that, so. I'm
This
sure if
is
there was an
Karen.
issue, but
What's that, Karen?
I was gonna say that the guidelines and the rules even include some plants, some vegetables that they can't plant because they're considered invasive. So they're really very complete, descriptive, and they go over everything.
yeah, they are. And so I believe the application may still be posted on the website. You probably find it in the town documents, or you can call our office and Ashley can send one out. No, it's a very thorough set of rules. When the garden was set up, in the early 2010s, the gardener that facilitated it, or the farmer, was, Bigelow and was it?
It was
Yeah.
Pat Bigelow, and she's
And-
a master gardener.
Yeah, and they were very, I mean, I just had started here, but it was a lot of effort put in, as I recall.
And some of that comes from DEP
Mhm.
with the,
Yep.
way that the property was acquired. And to be able to have something like a garden on that kind of open space. Had to comply. with certain-
And it was vetted through multiple agencies in order to establish the garden to start with. There has been some inquiry as to whether the garden can get the potential for enlarging the garden, and that may come up to the commission in the, you know, not too far future, but, or in the off season, but right now, I think we're thinking status quo for the time being, but and that would be an investment as well from the garden fund, most likely. And,
It's it's basically sold out every year, has been, so. I guess the discussion in the spring when we were walking around there with Carol and the garden coordinator was. Expand, is there anything, so no matter what, it's gonna, it's an investment of some additional monies, which is always hard to find.
as well as town resources for the installation, the work and the maintenance that our grounds crew does, because, it is another task.
They do a lot for us there, so.
There may be opportunities, as there was, I believe, for the fence that surrounds it. That's the second fence we've had for grant funds. And there are, I think, philanthropic groups that would support local community gardens.
I would think so.
But yeah, I think the covenant or whatever you call it, they were gonna hay that field, or even maybe not just the community garden, but when we acquired that, the idea was that they were going to lease it to.
Yeah, they did, and then
There was issues with
getting revenue for,
Well, in ground navigation perhaps, being able to do, yeah.
yeah, so it's actually a unheralded success story. I have to say that, so it's a good thing. Thank you, Maury.
Well, we've never, from what I can remember, every year, we always seem to be pretty close as far as the number of people that apply and the plots available. So it's not that there's a 200 or 300%.
No,
Number of
some
people.
years we've offered up additional ones, the last few that are available to other
That's right.
town nonprofits.
That's right.
So
Yeah, in my
I think we've
experience,
actually done-
they're usually vacant.
worked out that it's the size that was set, like when he started, was really
Pretty appropriate.
pretty, yeah.
Certainly has been, yeah.
They are the same, substantially the same gardeners returning. So should there be an increase to the size, there may be the opportunity that advertising would, promote new people coming in. Some of the multifamily developments that are being, that have recently been proposed, one or two of them, I believe have gardens within their, those complexes for their residents. So that's something that we're also encouraging is for a sense of community in a multifamily environment. We don't have a lot of them, but at least one I'm reviewing right now that was approved that way, and I'm trying to think, I think another one has that, or has an opportunity for something, so. As well as walking trails, just getting that pin pushed in for Conservation Commission.
Any other comments on the garden? No? Thank you. Anything?
So you'll recall a couple months ago, we've discussed, we had that inquiry about the campsites, the camping, et cetera. I did reach out to the Park and Rec Department. There was discussion about whether a combined meeting with Park and Rec was necessary. The feedback I got from the director was, if I recall correctly, please, look at the rules, see if the rules are appropriate, they're the guidelines, the structure. They can then work on the formatting, how they group it together, wording, et cetera. But it's really the concerns that the Conservation Commission has, and then just move forward with those concerns, and they'll integrate them into the concerns that the Park and Rec may have with regard to renting facilities, similar to the things they have for rules for other facilities, because they do have other places they rent out, pavilions and whatnot, Timberland Park being one of the main similar types of facilities. So, what I was hoping was, I actually brought up, I have one to share on the screen. You give me a second, let's see. And I marked up this copy with a couple of notes that I made that I thought were a little bit reflective, or Ida, and highlighted basically the subject matters. Thinking that if this commission could move forward, is comfortable moving forward with supporting these as the guidelines, and these principles, then the Park and Rec will move forward with adopting them as far as when they fill out the forms, at least departmentally. They may or may not have to go to their commission. So it is a form, an authorization from the Parks and Rec Department. So that's, I can make it bigger. I can copy some of these if you'd like me to.
Should number 3 be like part of number 1?
That's actually one of the comments I noticed today. When I looked at it, I went, oh, you can kind of tell it was written 10 years ago or they're about 8 years ago. It's just not clustered and streamlined the way we now tend to see a form written or a rules written or whatever. I think several of these items can be in one, combined into one, where maybe it's, this is the rule and this is what it's about. So like campfires, you get a permit from the fire marshal.
Just to straighten out something for me,
Uh-huh.
with any of our other open space parcels,
Mhm.
what kind of town oversight is there by, or by what department? Let's say
So-
like Ragged Mountain or Bicentennial, Timberland,
Well, grounds goes out and,
right? I
and
mean, are those
monitors
all
them.
under Parks and Rec? I
No,
look at
this is
Parks and Rec as
because
being
Park
different.
and Rec, okay, so the reason Park and Rec has the permit is because they have the mechanism for a permit. We don't have the mechanism to have a, to
Right.
monitor who's where.
Right. I think that needs to be reflected though in these rules, in that it's not. We're only
So-
using them in a sense for this,
For administration.
for administration. not
Okay.
really- It's not really, you know, only groups authorized by, you know, I mean,
So I get what you're saying, right?
there's a little bit in some of these that, yeah, that is kind of like. I mean, it doesn't even have us be in the following departments to be notified in its departments, but, you know, the police department, public grounds, you know, I mean, there should be some kind of inclusion of the conservation commission in a few of the steps here.
All right,
And I know that we use them, and the reason for that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
for administration and stuff. But,
but, and I actually noticed that where it said who gets notified, I was
Right,
like,
yeah.
why aren't I getting notified?
Yeah.
But I usually get notified. So, I was like, okay, I get notified regardless, well, it's so they don't have to come to this commission each time they camp moving forward.
The only thing I would say about that particular point is that these are consumer facing rules, you know what I mean?
right,
It's not a procedure necessarily, so you need to say with the, you know, with the advice and consent of the conservation. Commission, who cares? If you're looking at, if you're a Boy Scout, you're looking, that you're hitting these points.
Yeah.
I agree with you that there should be an understanding that, of course, these are open space parcels, and that is sort of our.
right, and that's kind of, and I don't know, an overriding kind of sentence or two in there. That, you know, this is kind of a unique thing for us with open space parcels that the conservation commission kind of thought was appropriate. Inappropriate use on the open space.
Well, it's just this area.
Right, and that for this particular one, but that's how it kind of started. I mean, the scouts did the work. They wanted to see if they could use it, and it came to us, and we said, we thought that was appropriate, and then it went through the other channels to actually make that happen.
Right.
I mean, our advice could have been like, no, I don't think we should, and then it wouldn't have gone to this. That's all. It's like.
It
that's-
sets the stage for future use as well, because you
Yeah.
did discuss it, one of the meetings, whether or not there were other areas that may or may not be appropriate, such as the old Girl Scout campground, right? This is not the Girl Scout South, right? I'm not really sure as to what was where. I was never a Girl Scout. I didn't come to the campground. But, you know, and you discuss whether being further away from residences, you know, it might also be an area, or there may be other areas. And I do think it's an important point to make as well. I think it can either be incorporated as a simple line at the top, line at the bottom.
Yes,
It just makes it so that it's clear moving forward. Someone, you know,
Well, it could-
everyone changes and looks at it.
Simple as-
Changing the title.
Correct. And Conservation Commission at the top, I mean.
Right, simple as adding,
Right, these are front facing rules for somebody that are, that is looking to rent. the place. Yeah, it's not a governing document or like, they're like a statement of our cognizance. That's just like that.
but it is what we went to look at, myself and the staff person down at Park and Rec. This is what we were able to digitally search and find that said, oh, rules. And not realizing they hadn't been adopted back in 2015. So, especially with digital searches, I think it is, not a bad idea to put something on the base form that references where it came from.
It's also the promotion for what we exist to. People do that.
So that's why, I highlight, so on here, I highlighted just a couple of the points, trying to prompt the discussion in case anyone didn't get the chance to take their notes with them or remind themselves as to what some of the concerns were last time around when we started the discussion. So again, they need to do the form through Park and Rec, and that's why Park and Rec is the top thing, including the insurance was an important thing. Again, only the organizations authorized, which, whether that has to be worded exactly that way or however Park and Rec
Yeah,
sees
because-
fit. I'm feeling like some of it can be, again, streamlined and tweaked as far as the wording goes.
I think 1 and 3 could be combined pretty easily to,
Mhm.
um, with a permit,
Yeah.
permitted by the Parks and Rec department.
I would also suggest that number 6, the word fox be deleted.
And number 4.
Oh, so the reason, I think it's well, this one does say Hatchery Brook. But I think they just took the,
Well, yeah.
form that they also use for Timberland,
Right.
which is both areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get it, but
Yeah,
I
number-
suspect that's why it's there for.
Yeah.
Saying,
You don't want the word.
I mean, it's their,
It's conservation.
it's our conservation area.
And
It's
this-
not a park.
Some thoughts in the chat box.
oh,
there's
try not to use the
typos.
chat if you don't mind, Karen, because we don't check it during the meeting. I have to, that's fine. And
Sorry.
no, that's fine. It's just not, it's very difficult to use. I do appreciate you telling me to look there, but
Yeah, there's some typos.
not surprised. We haven't.
Yep, campfire is not 2 words. Number 8, you see fire marshal. Marshal is capitalized, fire is not. And then I forget which number 5. It says the department name, but you know what? I think it needs to be specific because you want it not to be, well, which department do I go to? So that's what my thoughts. I can't see the whole thing though yet on Zoom, sorry.
No, I want to be big enough for the room to see. Hold on. one
Yeah, no,
second.
that, I'm not complaining, I'm just telling you I don't see the whole thing.
Put those in at the bottom for me to check. So if we can go through in order, it would be easiest for me to fix it.
Number 7 is, in number 7, the word completed doesn't have the L.
Okay.
Application-
Again, we'll,
Yeah.
we'll do a spell check of the entire document. We wouldn't, yeah, 1 L in Marshall. Yeah, in Marshall,
What was that? In what word?
fire marshal.
Sheriff, Marshall Wyatt Earp.
Yeah.
They use to.
They use-
Can everybody
I-
still see it?
I have a question about 9, just as there's something for us that, and they bring in wood. What- So, I mean, right now it says,
Is there a rule about wood that gets brought in? It has to be local wood or something?
yeah, but. I mean,
Is
that's
that
one of the things that.
Is that the
if this is
rule?
Gonna be used as like.
I don't know, I guess, so
Something that
the wood,
groups are gonna
so.
see, they should know whether. Yeah. I mean, they could certainly, that's what use that wood that's there, if it's there. But,
I think we can leave it the way it is and not worry about it. You know, because then they bring it in on their own, it's theirs. It's not gonna be a responsibility, it's theirs. All the youth groups are supposed to be practicing legal trades principles. Which gets to my point, but we're not gonna get there right, which is that. For 7, if it says this and they don't do this, because who's gonna haul? Boy Scouts, anybody, you know, across that first field, across that second field, there, they might. They might. We could, I suppose, say. In the event that firewood is imported, it would be, I don't know what the.
You know what, though, that's statewide DEP rules, they try to keep the invasives out. So
No, I get it.
Delete it?
I don't think we need to say that.
I just wanted to see if, you
Yeah,
know, how we felt for that.
no
Okay,
live trees is
Yeah.
good.
okay. Again, the timing is kind of up to both the fire marshal and the park and rec or whoever is. Or whoever is monitoring them, if somebody decides that 9 o'clock's the right time, the police department, fire department, the fire marshal. Or someone, then we'll,
Can we say extinguished? by 10?
Should number 10, instead of out, be extinguished?
Hey.
My part. Yeah, that's great.
Maybe add recreational drugs to number 6.
Oh, that's a good idea.
oh, Steve, we're coming into this decade.
So you're saying you can't
Are permitted.
legalize cannabis? How about if the legalized cannabis is already dead off the ground?
But it's in the firewood.
It's homegrown fun.
I know, that's not gonna get it.
And you know what, they may have a term that they use, they may say,
No prescription.
yeah, substances, there's a term, so, you know, and.
I'd like to add one, say 19, can't have any fun while you're camping.
Stay under the radar at all times if you want to have fun. As they did in the 70s.
Don't call the fire department.
Number 14, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, let's see, I had one in 11, so. let's-
All right.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, about the description of powers.
On site, yeah.
Overnight,
At
just be more
the-
specific and just say, at the Hatchery Brook Conservation,
Sheer front.
you know, parking. area. And then
Actually,
there's no-
I also had a question about that because it shall limit the number of cars. That's pretty vague.
Hmm.
You know, is there a number of cars that cannot be there? Should it be more, explicit? Like, what's the number?
I don't think so. Well, in my opinion, and again, I'm not the
Sure.
commission, but I think that's a kind of self-monitoring thing if they have
I think
a group of, well, I think it says 20 somewhere in here, but if they have a group of 10, you can maybe come in 3 cars. If you have a group of 20, you might need additional cars. I think that's a police and self-monitoring kind of issue. It's just a reminder to the group to carpool.
Okay. The other one is, Town of Berlin cannot be liable. Should it be cannot be held liable?
I'm sorry, I can't find that.
11.
Oh,
Same in 11.
cannot be held liable. There it is.
Is there a reason we want them to limit the cars? And the only reason I'm saying that is because
Is
If
it
I was
just
reading that
shall?
for
Do
the
they
first
have to
time,
have that?
I would think to myself, is there a number though?
I don't know if
So,
I've ever seen a number of. like,
They scope it out before, because they know the house structure that's there, where it's in the face.
Well, that's what I'm
You
wondering.
know
I don't know
what
if
the
the town
parking lot
has a formal number of parking spaces that.
I would just be concerned that they go out on, if, just worst case scenario. Everybody's bring, they only have 1 or 2 people in every car and they're out on Orchard Road. We don't want that.
Park on, let's say, road across Kansas or afterward.
the one across that they use for the bike race. Something along that lane, accommodate, and to accommodate open space use, et cetera.
Now, we didn't talk about number 5 with the group size.
Maybe.
I don't know, maybe.
I think that's.
I'm just saying, that if it's in their size, it should just say maximum of 5, just say 20.
Maximum.
Right now, the way that technically used is the camp there, you have to have between.
Right. Oh, I see. Yeah, you're right.
You know, and it really, if we're gonna put a cap on it, it doesn't matter to me what the number.
And I don't know where that number came from.
I don't know where it
Probably
is,
from the
and-
pavilion or something
right.
like that. but
Right,
25.
is a maximum. of
Yeah, that's,
5 or
you're not gonna have to.
You want to-
And that almost takes care of any of the parking
That's
How's
right.
that?
issue, any,
That's good.
You're right.
You wanna say to accommodate available space?
No, I'm open space
But they're-
use,
they're
to
sharing-
use the,
sharing
because
area.
there might be a hiker.
Oh.
We don't want them to fill up the whole parking lot.
Garden.
That's what I'm thinking,
Oh, that's
or the garden,
you're right.
Right.
yeah,
It's
Yeah,
a
that's
multi,
right.
yeah.
Shared space.
um. How about-
For number 12, for being one night only, sort of like
Oh.
Saturday night kind of thing.
Open space.
Well, the thing is, I don't know the answer to that question, but hiking opportunities there are fairly limited. Would you
I'll fix my-
see a reason that
Seem to
that
have-
somebody. We're trying to minimize the use of this, to be honest with you. And just for a little background, we have had some issues. It is not like a backcountry campground. It's within sight during, at least during dormant season of landowners and people who own houses in the area. We've had problems with people going in there and lighting fires and there's a landowner, rather a house, a resident who calls the fire department. It's in fact, so we run out there and kids there, fire, and so I actually, the answer to your question is, I don't really see that, but I just see we're trying to use that sparingly. And I don't necessarily support having a 2-night camp out there. It's not a jamboree. It's a place to camp.
Sorry, yes, Rob. I'm just reading what you guys were just talking about. Would it be better if you said something to the effect of, for the permitted group instead of authorized group? For me anyways, just somebody from the outside. The permitted group must vacate the premises by 11 a.m. on the following day. You don't have to say it's only for one night, because the following day, sure, they have to leave.
Yeah.
Leave it or Deborah?
No, that, and then one night is
You
good.
want to say permitted?
Yeah, permit is good.
I like, yeah,
Permitted.
Can I understand what you said, Rob?
Yes.
The group.
I was getting rid of the
The
one night,
permitted group must vacate the premises by 11 o'clock on the
following day. That's,
It implies one night,
It implies.
without it being a set rule in case there's a special circumstance that
Right.
it's otherwise approved.
So you're saying
That is what I'm,
Yeah.
one night only.
Yeah, I mean, it applies.
Okay.
so instead reading that. The permitted groups must vacate the premises by 11 a.m. on the following day.
Can I get to 14 now?
Oh, can I skip it? I mean, can we say at 13?
Oh,
What about the
13,
building? What's that?
there's a.
so. at
Is there a
the
name or it's
previous-
just called the building?
The previous meeting, there was discussion that you thought the building was at one time closed or something, and now it's open, and why can't it be used? It's a good thing to have it there. et cetera, so. There, you guys had a discussion about the building. I thought I should make sure I prompted you to. Make a consensus with regard to the building.
I don't think that building is necessary for that site. I don't know why you would use that building. It only would invite,
Mischief or.
yeah, mischief.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Well, if it rains, then.
Right.
Okay,
I mean,
Okay,
we're
so it's
workshop.
fine.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So delete it.
Might as well put a dollar on it.
Well, But it does say in case of severe weather, so that's more than just rain. So if there's lightning or
Be there
thunder,
in
you
severe
want them to have
weather.
access to go into
No,
the
no,
building?
severe weather.
that is severe. Lightning and thunder is severe.
So.
Right, so you want to leave severe weather,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Oh, okay.
The building have a name? on the-
Oh, I guess, can it not be locked? I think it can't be locked anymore. Is that true?
That may more.
Is it open?
I don't
Did
know.
somebody tell me?
I don't think it's, I don't think there's any doors on that. I think it's open.
Yeah.
Doors are open.
Means they
Yeah.
can really use
Okay,
it.
so that was one of the items, building is to be locked.
I don't
I
think it's-
think that, maybe that was where the discussion said the building, this had a problem. I had
I
this
haven't been
highlight.
out there in a while,
Yeah,
but I don't think that,
you could just put a note that we're not sure, we think it's.
I don't think, I think it's open, the windows are open.
Just delete that second sentence, yeah.
Just delete it.
Okay, I figured it out.
I don't really see it.
The Jeffrey Dahmer Memorial.
Oh, no, no.
Right.
But not the
I'm
new-
thinking it's the Girl Scout
All
kid.
right, Carl, you wanna talk about the pointers? I don't
Oh,
know.
okay, so
Yeah.
now let me ask you this, right? So the only facilities on that parcel are the seasonal portal. And if we've got 25 kids in there, off-season, that's an issue. And so
Portal
I
is
hesitate to
available
say this.
Through spring months through Labor Day.
I hesitate to say this, but should we, I hesitate to ask this, should we limit the camping to times where there's,
The second sentence says that if there's no portal out available, then they gotta provide one.
oh, yeah, well, I guess that does what it is. That does it, because they're not gonna do it. Okay,
But,
Yeah. That's a
Um,
more,
yeah,
And,
because you gotta, you know, there's special rules.
and Park and Rec does oversee and the installation of all the portalets, so I'm sure that is one of the top things on their radar when they're talking about, somebody comes in with an application, they're the ones that know.
That's.
It's
that's-
gone, sorry.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know
that's
when they're
prohibited.
gone.
You're not gonna have a.
but that's no longer correct.
well, they don't have to do that.
Ah.
It goes to October really, but.
So, yeah, we'll highlight that. Oops. This October camping is actually preferable to a lot of people.
Is it later than Labor Day?
Yes.
Maybe you just.
So porta potty use, available basically for the garden, so it's like.
And I heard.
Oh,
How
they
about
are.
just
But I
saying
mean, they don't
a
need to take-
portal is available
I
Oh,
guess this,
seasonally,
It's actually,
seasonally.
right,
Seasonal.
it's,
Period.
it's
Right.
If no
primarily
portal is available, then
there.
Ah.
The garden.
is that way you can save a lot of. work?
Yeah, that's a good
And
idea.
The timing of it.
Find out.
Park and Rec oversees all of it.
It's their purchase order, they got the master purchase order.
The question was about like, Mary Catherine was asking, that to begin with, it used to have to come out of the garden fund. The courtyard. And so it was set up for the garden season, and then the season that went longer, and then finally it got incorporated with the rest of the things that are put in other town things. So, but it was set up, I mean, it was never set up to be there for the hiking, the pure hiking season. It was always around the gardening. Right? And once the gardening time started stretching out longer, then we extended it, past Labor Day. Good.
Why would we ever, and I hate to, I want to end this conversation, why would we ever authorize it?
I don't think that's us, that's probably, Steve Wood or something, and I don't know why.
Why would we ever have Boy Scouts have to drive up to that?
I mean.
That's how this all started, they wanted to do that.
The person with disabilities. I'm just gonna throw out one of the things that might be,
Or someone gets injured.
someone gets injured,
Well, somebody gets sick.
someone's,
And-
then it's an
Fire
emergency
department.
vehicle, and that's a different
Right.
thing. Emergency vehicle is a little different, but I'm throwing out something,
Yeah, I
because
get
I
it.
think that was part of a discussion
Yeah.
at one time as well,
And I could- I
and
mean,
I guess. we could-
and while you were, you had it highlighted anyway, up in 14. Then, instead of, right?
I think so.
And, and
In the blue.
underneath your green septic.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
there it is.
Paul, did you have a comment to that?
I-
You
I
know,
guess-
Trace, or-
Oh, so this was, so I, at the bottom, put some things I thought about. So one of them was that there was a lot of discussion on camping with leave no trace, and that is, the principle. And I was just feeling like putting it in there, not a bad idea, just
Number
that,
16 then,
well, I'm wondering if they get,
By itself,
or
in the
18?
mid, you know,
So I think, we've covered a lot of that by saying, you can't poop there, you gotta take your trash out. Can't have a fire there other than the fire pit.
I like leave no trace to be centered and a space below 18 so that it stands by itself.
That's good.
oh,
Maybe 19 groups or whatever.
What?
A footer.
Yeah.
Groups are expected to understand and utilize these no trace principles. ERIN. CIPL. You take
Ah. oops,
the man out of high school.
It's different when you
John Word.
go to the principal's office.
I did too. Okay, find me a word,
Utilize.
Adhered,
right? Is that the right adhere?
Yeah.
Two, leave no trace.
Oh, we just take that out.
Yeah, no, it was these were my notes. Oh. Oh, what'd I do?
Put down the door.
Yep, that's good.
So I also wonder if some of these can be, again, can be grouped together, as to what works, I don't know.
For number 18, did the police department request that they're notified?
I believe so. I believe they always are when
And
we have
actually,
town
to be honest with
facilities.
you, if you notify the fire marshal, right, the police department dispatch will take care of the fire department. So I hate to say this, but nobody's answering the phone except me at the fire department. I do it 15 hours a week. I'm not really-
Should it be the
So-
fire department or the fire marshal?
Right, well, I think the fire marshal is implied by the above, if they're gonna have a
Only
fire.
if they want to fire.
Because the police department will know that they're there. They'll have it in the patrol log, the dispatch will have it, and so that implies that the fire department won't come if there's a fire and fire line. I just don't know who you would notify the fire department. We have 4 independent. companies.
Planning and zoning one?
That's me. For conservation. Nobody's gonna find Conservation Commission. They're gonna find the Planning and Zoning
Oh,
Department.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Again, it's how do you
And that could fit
find,
As a department rather than.
then a department gets,
instead of commission.
All departments shall be notified.
again, and I'm
Just
putting
like-
by, because I'm thinking that it might be,
phone call.
that is a procedure that the park and rec says, okay, you're the camper, you're the coordinator, you must contact the police department, and then they'll copy all the rest of us, as opposed to somebody individually running around town hall. That is something that the, overall, as town departments, we try to limit so that people can, like, more like one-stop shopping. So if they notify, my recommendation would be if Park and Rec is handling the permitting, that they're the ones notifying
Yeah.
me and public
They're
grounds.
set up to do that, so
And
they can
that,
fire-
however, the coordinator for the event probably does have to notify the police department, and they do have to go to the fire marshal if they want a permit for that, because it's a separate permit. So I think that I could probably work on that with the director of Parks and Rec to just make sure it's coordinated information. But I think what would like, from this commission is, who you do or don't think is appropriate to be notified if people are camping. So I added planning and zoning because that's you. Other than that, is there any other concerns that a particular department get notified? Otherwise, I think it's more of a how the town works kind of thing as to gets notified.
I think that does it. I mean, other than fire department, like I said, if you get the police department, central dispatch. I don't know about it.
Yeah, listen, Park and Rec is set up like that, and so just like all this discussion for the last few months, she just say that. Push that through 1, 2, 3. Yes. Send it to those 4 department heads or whatever. Yep. Done. That's what you do. Set up.
So these are my notes as well. This isn't the final document. I'm typing in my notes, just so you guys are aware of what.
So if Steve Wozniak issues a permit for the fire, he doesn't send his own down. But
I think he does, so I could be wrong, but
I don't know if you send it to the fire marshal. Is the fire. So I don't know, if you should send it to the dispatch. because
Dispatch,
that's Like,
yeah.
if somebody has, let's say, like Lee Lorenzo at 125 Mockingbird Drive, wants to burn leaves. The burn leaves and have a permit. Unless it's a high, flag, and so somebody called 911, what's your emergency? I got Michael Lee Lorenzo at 125 Mockingbird Drive burning. Or they call the fire department. Unless it's like a crazy burn, I'll check the burn. Let's see. Okay. But if it's like I said, and that's another thing. But you shouldn't be able to burn if it's a high, what do they call that, red flag warning?
yeah, but when Steve,
Yeah.
they wouldn't get the
But if he
permit.
issues the permit, oh, maybe the permit would say that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Permit would say that.
yeah, because they get the list every day.
So.
Heard 'em
but
turn
I
people
issue a
away.
permit For 2 weeks from now, the Boy Scouts should know based on that permit if it's a high wind warning, whatever.
you think,
I think probably.
I believe the fire
Absolutely
marshals
does.
take care of maintenance of that. I could be
No.
wrong. I don't
I'm
want to
sure
speak
they-
for them either, but I do know
sure
that
they do.
there's,
We call this group use procedures and rules or procedures.
I think.
Disagree with your side.
I'm thinking the whole title of it and how that's handled. I think,
Because some of these are procedures, but.
they,
And I don't know that really matters.
I was-
Question us.
gonna say maybe, the finalization of that kind of thing, can be handled by the department heads,
Yeah.
you know? And it may be procedure.
Yeah.
Rules, it may be, this is what you have to do in order to secure the site to camp. And then this is what you have to do
That's a good-
the day when you can't,
That's a good
you
idea.
know, it
Yeah,
may,
separate.
I kind of feel it, cause it's getting
Yeah.
Yeah.
to be a lot. That's kind of why I wanted to combine things, but that may be the way to do it.
Also too, I don't know, was it you guy talked about group size 20 to 25, maybe we could say 25 max? Because it does almost imply that you have to have 20. You have only- you can't go
If somebody gets sick, you can't go.
Right. Yeah, for the trip.
Too,
Yeah, that'll work.
Up to 25.
it's friendlier. I'm trying to, you know,
With a 20.
you wanna do maximum instead, whichever.
I would put maximum of 25 participants.
You could read better than it started,
Yeah, well, again,
you know, the whole thing.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
oh, thank you. Um. Again, each of these things, like I said, I highlight, the things that are highlighted are because those are the things I recalled you having discussions about, not because I prioritized them in any way, or they won't, and they won't remain highlighted. If I take off the highlighting now, it'll. I'm tracking changes, it'll make it a mess.
Are there noise ordinances you put down?
I believe they're being discussed this evening upstairs at town council. And, yeah, they may be getting discussed by now.
I've known the police will go after 10 o'clock if somebody has loud music coming or something like that. I don't know if that's just an internal view.
You can always throw that on the number expanding.
So,
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. We could say every place in every camp is sponsored by a state. Always said quiet hours. That's true. Like fire on
a good one to
10
have.
PM. 8 AM. Not that, very good. I'm good. Yeah, put it right there. Well, tonight's more about, I think, the
It's
And the-
sub noise ordinance in general.
Oh, okay, really?
And the fireworks that people shoot off. I don't know.
I doubt it,
No.
but I don't know, they might be discussed, but that wasn't a focus as far as I'm aware. But it is about noise in general as well as in hours and it includes operation of equipment and other things, so. I'm leaving it blank just because either Park and Rec may already have something that, or the police may, or, and if an ordinance is adopted, I can't remember exactly what they are. I think it's 9 to 7, but I could be wrong. Another? Are you
No,
good?
and I was actually gonna move.
Yeah.
Call the question or something. you know, that-
Yeah, I think we're good.
I like to move that we,
Move on.
do whatever.
Thank you, Marty.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a better product.
Okay.
So use of town lands. By way of an update, do you want to call up the map, by the way? Well, you guys all know, remember the whole, Pistol Creek area with the hiking trail expansion, and there's a limited parking area, with both two cars, is that what it is?
I don't know that it's
Yeah.
designated how many cars.
Yeah, small. Anyway, so call myself, Maureen, the mayor, council member, Parker, trustee Wood, police department. All have a meeting this Thursday to discuss.
I closed the map. Are the pictures oh, maybe I.
No, Stantec Road, it's
the use and
history and whether it should continue, basically.
I'm sorry, just give me a second to try to find what I,
Apparently issued an opinion.
Well, while you're doing that, I just wanted to let you know that I need to, hop off right now and I apologize. So I'm one of those members who left in the middle of the meeting, so I.
No, thanks, Karen. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
bye
Thank
Karen,
you,
thank you
too.
for your input.
Thank you.
So Michael, this meeting is to discuss continuing what, the trail?
Well, I would like to say, I'm not I haven't seen the agenda for that meeting. So
Nor have
I would not be confident in saying anything, but that it's
I mean,
called
to this-
Stand Tech Road.
Maureen might have.
So
Want to-
there's,
No,
I kind of did, sort of with,
Who did? I'm
with,
sorry.
well, the town, our department with the mayor and, the town manager, because there's, concern, with both, and actually, let me bring up the street view. That's, I think, the best way to do this, if you just give me a half a second to do that. And it was just address, I believe, it's this. Sure that's it, but let's just make sure that is it. Right, yes. So this is an older picture, from 2020. But you're coming. This is the south side of Spruce Brook Road. This house, I don't know if I'm in a bad position for you guys to see. Oh, and let me share it on the screen, hold on, so that anyone in Zoom land can see what I'm talking about. This house has a property line that is roughly from here and kind of angles. And has another odd angle to it. It's a very odd property line. This has been a parking area for a number of years. This foliage is considerably grown up. I'm gonna say to maybe there, and it actually comes out here, in recent photos. And then as you go straight to the south, this is what was at one time Stantec Road. Stantec Road got abandoned by the town, I think it was in 1995. But kept. So typically when roads get abandoned, they are split down the middle. And the property on that half of the road goes to the property owner on that side, and the property on that side goes to the property owner on that side, and you're just divided as you go past individual properties. Stantag Road was retained by the town as town land. And there's a lot of documents over the course of 20 or so years with regard to the use of Stantag Road, access to Stantag Road. And I haven't gone through them all, so I'm not comfortable speaking to much of the history. However, this is where I think Carl's gonna have to tell me as to, help me with what trail it
We
is.
don't see, it's the Mattabassa Trail.
It's the Mattabassa.
Mattabassa Trail has
Lamentation.
come down there, and I went to CFDA last month or the month before, and looked at the primary documents. The Mattabassa Trail, which is now the New England National Scenic Trail, has come down on Stantec Road since between 1957. Certainly was not coming down there before 1957. And it was not, it's certainly been coming down there at that point since at least 1960.
Didn't say coming down.
So I mean, coming down Stantec Road. So what happens is,
Can you call up the, like?
I have, yeah,
so if this is,
actually,
if this is
I
Spruce
have
Brook
them
Road running this way, right?
easily for everybody.
And you can even see the blue blaze right there.
And I have to
Excuse
put
me.
on that thing. I
In
don't.
1916, Catherine North, in the History of Berlin, Connecticut, says that enterprising or adventurous youth can still follow Stantec, which had been really abandoned. I mean, not used since well before 1916. So you could walk this to Middletown And there's still a Stantec Road that's paved in Middletown, but the trail itself has come down at this spot since at least 1961. And the parking area, according to, I believe, Jim Mahoney, the 2 or 3 cars has been utilized since the 60s and probably since 1960. And so there's a new land. This used to be Chief Haber's house, who's a prominent volunteer fireman with the Berlin Fire Department. He's since passed away. His widow has passed away, and that house has changed hands. And so there's some issue with that, and that's what we're going to be talking about.
Trying to find the right pictures, I'm sorry. I thought I loaded them
Some of
up.
this is that erosion, perhaps.
So there's 2 issues, or rather, there's several issues. I don't think there's any question about the trail remaining and being a trail. It was discussed when we discussed the trails grant with Middletown.
Is it, you know, about
It was-
hiking trail there?
Yeah. I like it better when somebody else runs the meeting and then I could find all the stuff on my map and then and then go to the maps for trails. There it is.
So, right, so where it comes out there on, now that might not even be accurate.
And this is really poorly accurate and not, this is not good.
This is not gonna be accurate anymore
Because-
because the land trust has new property, probably, I don't know, but. So this is Spruce Brook, so the New England National Scenic Trail, which you can walk from Long Island Sound, excuse me for covering over. You can walk from Long Island Sound all the way to the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border, comes right down here on the old Stantec Road, which has been abandoned for well over. Not
Decades.
used, well, not used for over 100 years, right? Comes right
Oh,
down
right.
onto Spruce Brook Road, takes a left, and there's a long road walk from that point up until you cross the turnpike and you go to Orchard Road.
And the Kensington Road.
Orchard Road to Kensington Park.
Yeah.
So it's one of the longest.
Yeah, it
it's one of
goes
the
all the way
longest
out.
at this point.
Yeah.
Goes down, they just switched it, so it comes down this, or they were in the, they got approved, I don't know if it actually got switched to walk across this side of the east side of the Berlin Turnpike and then cross at Orchard Road instead of cross at Spruce Brook, because this is up here near Spruce Brook Road, is, like it's a guardrail on the west side of the road, it's not very walkable. So they were moving it. You discussed that at a meeting a couple of years, last year.
Yeah, that
Or-
hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened. Okay, they were talking about doing that. It probably will have to happen with the improvements they're doing on the Berlin Turnpike, DOT improvements to the Berlin Turnpike. They'll probably put the crossing there at that point at the light at the gas station instead of the light at Spruce Brook Road.
So. In accordance with plan and conservation and development, it's supposed to be, enhancing access to. Owned. Open space parcels. I will say this, I've said before. There's no, I don't necessarily support parking. At Stantec Road and Spruce Brook for this purpose, but there's a legal, can't think so. For through height, right on that annotation, can legally can't. On that annotation for the first time, unlike when I was. Now you can camp up there with a backpack, so, I mean, this is not something that we should be pointing, this is a through trail. Like I said, National Scenic Trail, people come from other states hiking.
So-
Here we have,
Right, what was your first comment about the parking area though?
Oh, so in this respect, I think perhaps we could say, we don't want people parking here overnight, and it is posted, I don't know. Who posted it, but it's posted at dusk to dawn, which I think is
Like
appropriate.
everywhere, yeah.
Well, you have to have access for people who are backpacking too, but I wouldn't suggest that this is one of those spots.
Right,
It's in a
I think
residential area.
I
right next to a
lost it.
house, saying that it is. It's a very good place. I actually don't care about the trail than I do about the park.
Right, no, I care a lot about parking off-road access because of the safety and the dearth of
we don't have enough of it in town. That's anywhere we get it is a good thing.
So, if I may.
Yes.
So I don't think there's any question about the access. And when the trail grant was discussed, both, by the time it went to town council after the public meeting you had a few months back, on the grant. The public meeting was held at the Conservation Commission meeting, and then the grant application went to town council. And they decided to eliminate the improvements to the parking there at this lot, which had a couple of spaces. And actually, if I look back to probably an older date, we can see more accurately what it did look like there. This is a much better view of what it was in 2019. And then we go back all the way to 13, and you have just a couple of spaces here. It's a little bit mostly overgrown. And you can see how overgrown that is. Where the trail then goes in. Then, for the trails grant, there was discussion of putting in a sidewalk, extending to where it meets to the trails at Pistol Creek that will come out to the road just to the east of the culvert that's there. That was taken, the improvements to the parking and the access there was taken out of the application. And if I remember the details correctly, and I could be slightly off with the details, but the consensus ended up that the on-street walkable area would be marked. When they do the culvert, they expect to be able to gain a little bit of width in order to have people safely walk along the edge from Pistol Creek to this area to then get to this trail. And decided not to add parking here. One of the concerns, and I don't have the report from our traffic division yet, is the sight lines as you pull out of here, not so much going east towards Pistol Creek, which is pretty clear, but from this point, if you're from the west, is a limited sight line. Whether or not it meets the parameters of being limited or not is the issue. So now there's the issue of eliminating the parking completely. And what has happened in the last couple of years is the new owner of this property has done some clearing on their own land. They also seems to have also encroached onto town land, and we have an enforcement going parallel with this, but the issue that's, I think, mainly going to be discussed, because that is an enforcement that we're working on. With regard to that, and we might be bringing back to you in a couple of months a restoration plan for, presuming we'll be asking for trees to be replanted if any were removed that were mature then and not proven to be diseased or otherwise. Just for everybody's reference, trees are allowed to be removed from conservation areas in a limited manner when authorized by the tree warden. And that's general language. That's not universal. It's not, every easement document some easement documents may be written differently, but unless we find something to the contrary, when it's just a general conservation easement, the tree warden will go out to see, lots of times they're coming close to somebody's property and they could fall on a house. They could fall in somebody's play yard, whatever. So he'll authorize removal. That was, no authorizations were made here. And so he'd have to prove they were unsafe by, documentation from the tree expert or, arborist or otherwise, which I doubt will happen. We have some pictures along the way. But the issue is that on Thursday, one of the main issues to be discussed is limiting if parking should be further limited in this area. One of the other big issues that's happening is trucks parking there with trailers and offloading ATVs that take access through there. There have a lot from what we understand, it's, often reported very, and a pretty active thing that's been happening.
Where's
The-
police?
They're going out, but with the parking area. Now, some of the parking area, the gravel seems to have been improved in this area by this owner as well. Which is why we have so much more gravel than we did.
Now, is that white line, that looks like a white line there, is that a boundary at all, or?
I think that's aren't we, I'm not sure.
I think
So-
there's a little,
So does the
thing.
owner own?
he owns
our
pretty
left-
close.
Left of that?
Yeah, I think the line comes like right in this area. I do have a picture that I wasn't able to find out, pull
That's all
up.
I was wondering, because it seemed like that was
His
a
driveway,
historic kind of line
Line,
there,
yeah.
and then the driveway stands out at the
Yeah,
end.
I don't know.
but this has, like I said, this is pretty much grown up. I think
Right.
there is opportunity. Right now, one of the complaints or one of the concerns is one, the trailers that are coming with ATVs. I think, my opinion is installing the open space signage.
Yep.
At that location, making sure it's the signage that says what the rules are, et cetera, is imperative at the trailhead, which it's not really a trailhead, right? Or is it? I don't know when it's in the middle of a trail,
Yeah.
but it is called a trailhead because it's meeting a road. Are, imperative. Those are important things to get back in place. Our grounds has put up some boulders to barricade so that you can't get through, although now it's pretty easy with his driveway if somebody trespasses to go around it. I think there's opportunity right now. The opportunity is very limited here. I don't think it's really clear in that 2020 picture. But it's,
Is it the owner who brought in the gravel?
we believe so.
Okay.
A neighbor brought in the
To extend
gravel.
his own parking? I mean,
We don't really know unless it was cleared and it can't, I'd have to talk to our zoning officer as well as others.
Sure.
But, right, and one of the complaints was you can't back up without backing onto his property. And this picture is a little bit better for that, although it's still not the best picture for that. However, the town owns about 50 some odd feet. So we could
Look at,
clear more for a bigger parking space.
look at the parking lot that's just further down on Spruce Brook, handicap. One, you can limit, you can put a fence across like this, you have limits. Put 3 spaces like this, and then you back out like that, and you come out. If we're talking about limited parking, this has been a thing that's bothered me for years, where we keep getting that sight lines aren't great. And we have some smaller parcels in town that we don't have parking for. Because, and one of the largest in town, because it's deemed that the sight line aren't good. You're talking about maybe 3 cars in there or something like that. The owner probably has 3 cars in there, and the town's not gonna go through and say, you don't have great sight lines, you can't, your driveway can't be where it is.
If there was a lot that wanted to build a house there, there'd be no.
There,
issue
there,
with sight
right,
lines.
right, so
So-
as long as you had something like that where they could just pull in like this. And then they have to back out, and then you don't have people backing out.
Right.
On the street.
Or they could.
I don't see what, why with 50 feet or something like that, that we can't make a place there for
I think,
reasonable
right,
parking.
and I'm sure everybody else, I mean, if you're conscientious at all, it's part of the right, if you don't have a sightline going in one direction, maybe you can do the same thing and sort of.
Right.
Back in.
And
Back in,
My-
or if
and-
you
and-
can't, if you can't see, going west, well, then you turn east. And then look for a safe place to turn around.
right,
and go
and if you
west.
put something like that in there, somebody with a trailer isn't gonna be able to go in.
Okay, so my question would be, I guess from a historical perspective, how many accidents have happened with this and with people? I'm sure there's some sort of CAD record of that.
I don't think there have been any. I would say that, this commission, I've been on the commission for a while, not 1995, 2000. And we authorized, or rather we supported a grant, for the police department to, have two ATVs, which they still own, or they own some descendants of those. And I'm wondering
Those
where,
the open space funding.
right, so no, I'm wondering, because I have hiked this parcel several times recently, I'm wondering what the enforcement actions have been. Because, I've hiked both, Stantec Road and some of the new, Berlin Land Trust part, and there is, evidence of ATV abuse. And I'm not sure that some of the local landowners don't have ATVs themselves, but be that as it may, it would seem to me a pretty much an automatic that if I saw, if I were one of the adjacent landowners and I saw somebody pulling up with a trailer and an ATV, and I objected to that because I know that this is town-owned open space, that I would get on the phone. I wouldn't dial 911, but I'll do 7080 and I'd call the police, and that it's not very hard to take plates down. So I don't think that somebody using that parking as parking for passive recreation, hiking on a national scenic trail, just like the Appalachian Trail, just like the Pacific Coast Trail, that's a national scenic trail, should be painted with the same brush. Somebody coming in and ripping up, not only, there's a private area there for sure, but there's also town-owned open space, there's state open space, and there's land trust open space.
We should be on private land. So,
Yeah, private land and authorized
with,
by the
written permission.
So, you know, I don't want to say too much about it, but I think that we're mixing up a whole lot of things. Parking for passive recreation does not equal parking for overnight use, does not equal parking for motorized use. It's not the same thing. It shouldn't be painted as the same thing.
Well, hopefully we can clarify that, because that's what's.
So that's,
Exactly.
I think, making sure, that one of the reasons the meeting was discussed was to make sure that the interests of the Conservation Commission, as well as the concerns that have been raised to town council and others are, discussed together. And we have the ability to hopefully come to a conclusion that works for the multiple interests in the town. Because and I'm gonna anecdotally tell you a story about planning. If I'd realized, so when it was first thrown out at me to consider planning by a dean of the university, I was like, and once I started working, one of my favorite parts of being a planner at my first job was going out and standing in a place just like this and having the town engineer, the developer's engineer, the conservation director, had a director of conservation in the town I worked in, and the wetlands agent and the planner and the developer's lawyer, and we'd stand there and we'd argue about the tree and where the driveway goes and whether the tree was more important than the sewer line going at a perpendicular, or if and that negotiation and being the facilitator for that is extremely important to me, because we do have conflicting interests. There's somebody looking at one aspect of any piece of land and another see it from two different angles. And it's really important to weigh those against each other and be able to come to a conclusion that people are all able to live with. So I'm looking forward to that meeting for that purpose, so that we can hopefully lay out the problems on the table and maybe get them resolved. But again, I did wish that you guys would, with members of this commission participating, that anyone else on the commission that had information could also give us that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there a recorded survey for the landowner's property right there? Do we know?
Oh, sure.
No, we do know that he got a survey. It's all part of the enforcement thing. I don't believe he ever provided it to the town. However, our surveyor went out, or our, um, technician went out, and there was a stake out there, or was out there, and the line is pretty well depicted. I tried, I can't find the drawing he supplied me, but we have, we know basically where the land is again, and we found out what this dimension is. It goes, I think it's close to that pole, that light pole, telephone pole, from about the break of pavement. That we have the width, but again, if you were to look at today's picture, this, or rather go out there today, the width of the parking area entrance isn't much wider than a car and a half at this point. This is well grown up. But there's probably plenty of space to make it so a car could pull in at a, parallel with the street and back out and come out face forward if it got cleared. Again, that would be clearing, well, it's not conservation area, actually. It's only town land. We don't find that it's conserved.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have anything?
Um,
Having nothing, no plans, no, we got it.
No, that, and we don't have a plan of conservation and development.
Implementation meeting
Then
until October. I believe that's
so-
October.
And environmental stuff.
Is,
got pushed off
what's the
again. We're
next
not-
topic? I believe so. I think,
Transportation.
transportation and maybe the economic development
Yeah, yeah.
things,
So.
coming up.
So we've still got plenty of time to, when that gets closer, I'd like to, solidify the things that we look at as the important stuff on there. But right now that our stuff hasn't really. Some of it, I think, ends up as one or two items maybe under transportation stuff, but not the big ones, so. So we still got time to deal with that future meetings.
If I could give a quick update on one of the topics that the implementation committee has been discussing is farming, which is also under the cultural resources that the conservation is under as well. And a lot of it was audience of citizen participants at the last meeting are concerned they were concerned about chickens, but small animal farming. So if that if anyone has interest, it's something P and Z will may be looking at in the not long future, but again, it's a matter of prioritizing those goals and priorities and prioritizing the high priorities.
Facebook initiated some text, right?
No, it was someone who came in
It's from-
and they put it on, they added it.
After they called you, they posted it on the.
Yes, we actually expected a larger audience. We had very little. It was the Plan of Conservation and Development Implementation Committee meeting, because we're discussing farming. They're all, most meetings for the town are public meetings, so yes. Oh, I thought you had gone one of the committee meetings we'd had.
Only before the plan of conservation development. I went to a couple of them before it was even,
Yeah.
put
they're
together.
there.
Oh, okay, that's
It
what
was
I'm
planning
thinking.
thing, but I
The
don't-
advisory
So
meetings.
this committee that you have, is it on the town
Mhm.
thing on the calendar?
Yeah.
They meet quarterly.
Yeah.
So they don't, only every 3 months. And the next one's, I believe it's October. It might be September, but I think it's
I think
October.
it's-
October?
Yeah.
Traditionally, we don't have an August meeting.
Oh, I think we have one on the calendar. Maybe not.
No, well, we always, somebody make a motion to,
To-
unless needed to call it.
And I make a motion that we, cancel the August meeting unless something comes up, where we need to get together.
Um,
Second.
So it would be scheduled as a special meeting regardless, so that would be what I would do for a meeting and
Yeah.
we'd call and make
Only
sure
as
everybody's
required.
available and then I'd have to post it as such.
Might have voted member now or could I?
Oh, well, Karen's gone.
Yeah,
Karen's
we
gone.
still have.
No, we still have.
Oh, it doesn't matter. You could fully see, you
Right,
could fully
fully,
see. You
yeah.
don't have to just do a minimum quorum. You
Yeah.
can seat him if
Okay.
you'd like.
Sure,
So,
do it. As long as.
that-
First vote is to cancel the meeting.
And
All in favor of the motion that Mary Catherine put up and call seconded? Aye.
Aye.
So moved, thank you.
you voted?
Yeah.
Okay,
Unanimous.
I didn't see it.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, wait till next agenda.
Yes, we do.
I'd like to move to.
Second.
All in favor of adjourned?
Aye.
So moved again. Thank you, everybody.
8:07 PM.
Not bad.
Not bad for all that.
3 minutes earlier than.
I know,
they-
last.
Yeah.
You got that?
That's all?
Form?